Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitzmonk TV here, aka Lauren33. I am back here today with another episode of the Legit Shoot podcast. Here with your Smackdown review and results for October 15th, 2021. Hopefully, you guys are staying safe, staying healthy, and doing well. We're gonna go into SmackDown in just a couple moments, but a couple quick programming things for you guys. It is gonna be a pretty crazy week here on the channel, so I just want to give you guys a quick update, right? So Monday we have Raw. So you guys, either Monday or Tuesday, I'm planning to have the Monday Night Raw review stream. And I think most likely what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have the Raw review and I'm gonna do Crown Jewel preview and predictions all in one video. So it might be a long video, it might be a long stream, but we're gonna talk about Crown Jewel and we're gonna talk about Monday Night Raw. Hopefully it's a good show. You know, I'm hoping and praying that Raw can give us a decent show because SmackDown gave us a really good show last night, and I'm excited to talk about it with you guys here in just a little bit. But excuse me. But the big thing here is that with Monday Night Raw, we also have to remember this is the last Raw before the WWE draft results finally become effective. Remember, we had the draft 2 weeks ago on SmackDown and Raw, but they said that the draft results wouldn't, become effective until after Crown Jewel. So Raw would be the last show with the current rosters. Then we have Crown Jewel on Thursday, and then that SmackDown on Friday. That's going to be the first SmackDown with the new rosters in place. So those who got drafted to SmackDown, like Drew McIntyre and Charlotte, Jeff Hardy, etc., they'll officially be on SmackDown regardless of what happens on Crown Jewel. And then, etc. On Raw, you'll have Becky, you'll have Edge, Seth Rollins, Bianca Belair, etc., etc., etc. So it's going to be a big week with the draft finally becoming effective. And, we're going to have our Monday Night Raw review with the Crown Jewel predictions, like I just said. Uh, Thursday, we will have a Crown Jewel review. It will be a stream. Probably, I'm thinking Thursday afternoon, hopefully. Hopefully Thursday afternoon. That's what I'm aiming for. Maybe Thursday night. It's going to depend on how the day goes. But I'm aiming for Thursday afternoon, Thursday night to do a Crown Jewel review stream. I'm thinking about also doing AEW during that review as well. So we might do Crown Jewel and AEW Dynamite review. I don't know if I be able to yet, but that's what I'm thinking. Uh, what's next? After that, Friday, and then that Friday, of course, we have SmackDown, and then we'll do our normal SmackDown review. Plus, for other viewers on my channel who come here for anime and other content, you guys know the Dragon Ball Super manga drops this week. It's that time of the month, especially, with everything going on with Bardock and how big a chapter this is. So we will be covering the Dragon Ball Super manga like we do every single month here. So be on the lookout for that. And we also have, My Hero and some other anime videos planned. So it's gonna be a pretty busy week on the channel. I'm hoping that I'll be posting probably every single day this week. So, like I said, you guys are gonna want to be subscribed and you guys are gonna want to have that bell enabled for all notifications so you guys don't miss anything. Because like I said, it's gonna be a pretty crazy week here on Fitzmonk TV. So, so that's your quick programming, though. I just want to make sure I let you guys know about that right here at the beginning, and I'll try to remind you guys again at the end of the podcast. But getting into SmackDown, right? This week's SmackDown was a little bit different than most weeks because they had this supersized SmackDown. And basically, SmackDown went up against AEW Rampage, right? There was no AEW Dynamite on Wednesday this week. They did it on Saturday. So Rampage still happened on its normal Friday time. But SmackDown decided to put an extra 30 minutes. They added an extra 30 minutes to a normal edition SmackDown. So instead of 2 hours, it was 2.5 hours. And they made those final 30 minutes completely commercial free. So AEW, they changed up their lineup for Rampage, gave us some bigger matches because they really wanted to, because like I said, AEW Rampage, their ratings aren't the best on Friday nights. They usually get about 500,000, 600,000, right? The most of Rampage ever did was the return of CM Punk, of course, a couple of months back. But They usually do about 500, 600,000. And then especially since SmackDown was going up against them, and with 30 minutes of commercial free programming, Rampage was like, it was a little bit tight for them, right? But SmackDown last night was actually really, really good. I feel confident saying it may have been the best SmackDown of the year. If not, it's definitely in the top three or top two. Because a lot of people look at that Madison Square Garden show as the best SmackDown we had, but I really enjoyed last night's SmackDown. For the most part, almost there wasn't much to complain about, really. You had an awesome match with Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch, one of the best WWE TV matches of the year. You had a really good Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns segment, even though it was short. It did its job, forwarding that story as we had the crown jewel. Finn Balor and Sami Zayn put on a really good match in the King of the Ring semifinals. The Usos versus the Street Profits, they had a great street fight match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships as they reached the conclusion of their feud with both teams being split up in the draft. And Naomi and Sonya Deville, their feud actually, took a step forward, and pretty much like there was not much else to complain. And oh yeah, Edge and Seth Rollins both cut really, really good promos, hyping up their Hell in a Cell match for Crown Jewel. All in all, it was a longer show. I definitely felt that, but it was a good show, and that's all I asked for. I just asked for good television. I will say this. I don't want WWE because I haven't checked the ratings yet, but I'm willing to bet they probably did pretty well. I don't want WWE to fall into this trap though, where they see how good SmackDown did, and then they start doing 2.5 hour shows on a normal basis. I remember when back in 2012 when Raw first went to 3 hours when they had the 1,000 episode, and at first I loved it, but as the years went by, it became so taxing just sitting there for 3 hours. Guys, sitting there for 3 hours is a long, long time. And you already see how much programming we get from wrestling now. Not just WWE. WWE, you're getting at minimum, right? 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown. You get 2 hours of NXT if you watch that. And that's just on a normal week. Not even counting if we have a pay-per-view, right? And for some of those sweats out there that like to watch 205 Live and other stuff on the WWE Network, that just there, on a normal week without 205 Live or a pay-per-view, that's 7 hours of this WWE TV programming, right? You add pay-per-views and 205 Live and all that other stuff, you're already at 10 hours. And there's some people that watch that much wrestling. I don't know how they do it. I can barely get through 3 hours of Raw and 2 hours of SmackDown. Plus, you have AEW. Now they have 2 hours of Dynamite. Then they have AEW Rampage, which is another hour. So that's already 3 hours from AEW. Then, if you watch AEW Dark and some of their other programming, let alone if you add like the NXT Raw SmackDown, that's 7 hours, and you add the minimum of Rampage and Dynamite from AEW, that's already 10 hours alone of programming on a weekly basis. And then after that, if you add pay-per-views, you add people that watch Ring of Honor or Impact, right, or New Japan, it's a ridiculous amount of wrestling. I can even if you're the biggest wrestling fan alive, that's so much wrestling. I can't take that much. It's already bad enough. I complain all the time about Raw being 3 hours, right? So you're telling me that you're already suffering with 3 hours of Raw, you're gonna make SmackDown longer? No. If you want to do this every once in a while, and when I mean once in a while, I'm talking about maybe 2, 3 times a year max, right? Maybe once every quarter. Fine. But I hope and pray WWE doesn't see this, and then they use this as an excuse to extend SmackDown to 2.5 hours going forward, just because they want to go up against Rampage. Like I would hope not. Look, last night's show was great, and a lot of that goes because of how great Sasha and Becky's match was, which we'll talk about in just a sec. But I do not want WWE to fall into this trap where they think, oh, we did a great show, all right, with the 2.5 hours and the 30 minutes of commercial-free television, and then they just start deciding, oh, we're going to keep doing this, we're going to keep doing this, we're going to keep doing this. No, please don't. Please don't. Listen to your fan base. Listen to your fan base. Not the casuals, the real fans. As we're telling you, too much. We already get enough wrestling. You do not want to oversaturate, overexpose your fans, and wear them out more than you already do with 3 hours of Raw. I'm telling you, please be smart. If I was WWE, I would say be smart about this. Anyways, but yeah, that was, even though SmackDown was a good show, I just wanted to make that quick note about the 2.5 hours. Okay, but like I said, SmackDown was a good show, and we're gonna talk about it. And I don't know if you want to call this the opening shoot, but I really want to talk about this first off, right? And you guys know where I'm going with this: the women's division, right? You guys know probably my favorite thing. Roman and Brock is great, but you guys know how much I love the women's division, and you guys know how invested I am with the Sasha, Becky, and Bianca program going on right now. And I didn't know this because honestly, I didn't watch SmackDown live. I was out taking care of some business, and I had to DVR it, so I just watched it when I got home. And I got home, that's when I found out about Bianca Belair getting 2 title matches in 1 week. All right? Bianca Belair will be challenging Charlotte Flair for the Raw Women's Championship, most likely probably in the main event of Monday Night Raw. And I see why they're doing this, but I don't agree with it at all. Did Bianca beat Charlotte last week on Raw? No, the match ended by they did. I'm not even talking. That was sorry. I'm thinking about the week before. Last week we had Sasha and Bianca facing Becky and Charlotte, which was a no contest. But the week before, if I remember correctly, I don't think Bianca beat Charlotte. I think that match ended via disqualification, if I'm right. All right? Yeah, I think Becky interfered, and then Sasha came out to end the show. So what has Bianca done to earn a championship match against Charlotte? Nothing. Remember, Bianca and Charlotte, as much as I don't like Charlotte, I'll admit when she's with the right opponent, she's great at what she does. When she's in there with a 4 horsewoman or Asuka or Bianca, she's great. Bianca and Charlotte's one of those feuds where you can make a WrestleMania match out of that. You can make a really long feud out of that. But they're rushing this program with Bianca and Charlotte, right? And they're not even on the same brand. It's like WWE thinking, oh, Bianca and Charlotte, they're not on the same show, so we need to rush the program. We need to try to get as many matches with these two as possible. This is the 3rd straight week that we're going to see Bianca and Charlotte in the ring together. If you guys remember, when we had the Royal Rumble, what was it? Not this year, but last year, back when we had fans, before COVID and everything. Royal Rumble 2020. Bianca and Charlotte's interaction in the Rumble, everyone was talking about it. How this is a WrestleMania feud waiting to happen. And I remember Bianca and Charlotte then faced off in NXT, in a very short match. And everyone was like, oh man, the potential of a feud between these two. But here we are, and you're just rushing through it. We got Bianca and Charlotte in a match that ended via disqualification 2 weeks ago. Then we got Bianca and Charlotte in the ring together in that tag team match with Sasha and Becky being involved. And now you're giving us a Raw Women's Championship match with Bianca and Charlotte when Bianca has done nothing to earn the Raw Women's Championship. She has two Women's Championship matches in 1 week. I've been better on Bianca because she has been presented better as of late, and I'm happy for that. I'm happy that Bianca's being treated like a star. It seems like Bianca, she belongs there with the 4 horsewomen now. She's up there, Is she better than Sasha? No. All right, I'll be the first one to say that. But, Bianca, she's up there. She's being viewed as a star in the women's division, and that's good to see, especially the fact that she's a person of color. But this is not the way to go. You're going to give Bianca 2 women's championship matches in 1 week for opposite titles? She's going to get a Raw Women's Championship opportunity that she didn't deserve or didn't earn, which makes no sense. And then she's in the SmackDown Women's Championship triple threat match 3 days later. And I know why they're doing this because we've talked about this already, right? The Raw and SmackDown Women's Champions are going to be on opposite brands. Charlotte is going to SmackDown. Becky is going to Raw. And we all thought that they were most likely going to do what the New Day and the Street Profits did a couple years ago, last year, right? When they were both holding the tag titles for the opposite brand and they got drafted to separate brands. They just had the Usos, or not the Usos, they had the Street Profits and the New Day flip titles. But thing is, it's like they don't want to do that with Becky and Charlotte. So instead, they're going to do something even more wacky. They're going to give Bianca, most likely what's probably going to happen is they're going to give Bianca the Raw Women's Championship, right? They're going to give Bianca the Raw Women's Championship, probably. Something's wacky. Either Sasha or Becky, right? I can see something happening where Sasha appears on Raw tomorrow night. Becky's on the show as well. And then Sasha causes Charlotte. Sasha interferes some way and causes Charlotte the Raw Women's Championship. Maybe Sasha and Charlotte get into some kind of altercation backstage. And then Sasha decides to get payback by costing Charlotte the Raw Women's Championship to Bianca in the main event. I can see something wacky like that happening. Then Bianca walks in the crown jewel as the Raw Women's Champion. And Becky's SmackDown Women's Champion. And since Sasha's going to be the only superstar on SmackDown, right? Sasha beats Bianca and Becky. She walks out of Crown Jewel, SmackDown Women's Champion. I really think that there's a high likelihood that could happen. If Bianca, I'm saying this right now, if Bianca wins the Raw Women's Championship on Monday night, Sasha's almost 99.9% winning at Crown Jewel. It's pretty obvious, because Becky and Bianca are going to go to Raw, and they're going to continue their feud over the Raw Women's Championship, right? They're still going to feud, but it's going to be over a different title. And then Charlotte and Sasha, that's most likely going to be the number one feud in the SmackDown Women's division. Because there's nobody else on SmackDown right now that deserves to be in that conversation. Shayna Baszler or Naomi, I would like to see them get involved. So would I like to see Sonya Deville. But none of those names have been built up properly at the moment to be involved in that. Hopefully, after the draft, after Crown Jewel, maybe, WWE can actually build up that women's division. Because Sasha and Charlotte, as good as they are, no one's going to want them to see them feuding for the next 6 months through WrestleMania season. Right? Because I'm telling you, even though people would like to see Sasha and Charlotte probably saved for WrestleMania, right? They're going to do that feud coming right out of the draft, coming right out of Crown Jewel. Everybody knows it. They already kind of teased Sasha. They've already turned Sasha babyface halfway. If you guys saw the Sasha and Becky match, which we'll talk about in just a sec, because Charlotte's not going to be a babyface. It's easy to turn Sasha. It's easy to flip the switch with Sasha. Sasha can be heel, she can be babyface. And people will still love her. It doesn't matter. So Sasha, they already are semi-turning her babyface again. And she's going to be feuding with Charlotte. Most likely, reigniting their 2016 feud, giving WWE a chance at redemption and booking Sasha the way she should have been booked in 2016. But anyway, I digress. Clearly, that looks like the direction that they're going to. And I understand why WWE's doing this, but it's not right. I don't agree. It's not right. Bianca should not be getting a Raw Women's Championship just because she's switching brands and that's how it needs to be. No, you should have done a better job with the handling of the draft, right? You should have done a better job with the handling of the draft. If you knew you wanted Charlotte and Becky to switch shows, if you knew you wanted Becky and Bianca on Raw and you wanted Charlotte on SmackDown, you should have done a better job with the championships. You should have not, if they had flipped titles, if they just had Charlotte and Becky flip titles, that's whatever, really. It's like, people would be pissed, but, it would be like whatever. But you giving Bianca a championship that she hasn't earned just because she's being drafted to the opposite show, that doesn't make sense. At least if Sasha wins at Crown Jewel on Thursday, it makes sense from the storyline. Sasha can say, this is what would have happened if I was at SummerSlam. At least that makes somewhat sense. Bianca becoming Raw Women's Champion tomorrow night on Monday night does not make any sense at all. They're doing it just because Bianca is switching brands. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. If anything, I would have rather you probably have Becky Actually, no. I'm gonna scratch that. I was gonna say have Becky beat Charlotte for the Raw Women's Championship and have Charlotte beat Becky for the Smack. I'm like, but no, that's like that's dumb too. Because then Charlotte would get another title reign that she doesn't deserve. So, and oh man, Charlotte's about to surpass her father's record. Like, no, no. But the handling of this situation could have been done better, a lot better. Bianca should not be getting two title matches in the same week for opposite championships, and she should not be getting a title match for just because she's switching brands and they're using this as some way to switch the titles, right? No, that doesn't make sense. That does not make sense at all. I don't agree with WWE's thinking here at all. I understand the Sasha situation with Crown Jewel, and that makes way more sense because this has been a story that's been going on all year with the SmackDown Women's title. Bianca becoming Raw Women's Champion does not make sense. All right, so I want to make sure you guys understand, where I'm coming from here. But anyway, we'll see what happens. If Bianca wins the Raw Women's Championship on Monday night against Charlotte, we know why, right? And we'll cover it here on the channel like we always do. But like I said, in my opinion, it's logic backwards, really, right? But let's move on to Sasha and Becky tonight, right? So I might do a separate video on this. I'm probably not going to talk about it here. So we kind of have a reason now for why Sasha missed SummerSlam, and it's kind of political. So I'm probably going to do a separate video on this eventually. I don't know when, because like I said, this week's going to be pretty crazy on the channel. But I know a lot of you guys have messaged me on social media, asked for my thoughts on it, and I'm just going to say that we'll talk about it at a later date. I'm going to keep it as simple as that. We'll talk about that at a later date. Anyway, but Sasha and Becky, right? So basically it's almost kind of like they're doing this redemption tour with Sasha in a way, because since she came back, and like I said, we'll talk about why she missed SummerSlam probably in a separate video, but ever since he came back again at Extreme Rules, Sasha's been on a redemption tour, really. She beat the Bianca Belair a couple weeks ago on SmackDown in a great match, right? A rematch, basically the WrestleMania rematch that we never got at SummerSlam. But, Becky had something to do with that, but Sasha still won. And then last night, Sasha beat Becky. Sasha beat Becky in what I think was one of the best TV matches on WWE programming all year long. I think it's up there with Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan in the Thunderdome earlier this year. Edge and Seth Rollins from Madison Square Garden last month. I really think that match is up there. The crowd was electric for this match. Even though Becky was the heel, you have, Let's Go Becky chants, you have Let's Go Sasha chants, and you guys know the rivalry and the history between these two. I've talked about it all the time, how Sasha should have never lost to Becky inside Hell in a Cell back in 2019, but, it is what it is. But we know that these two, when they're in the ring together, they have fantastic chemistry. You can make the argument that Sasha and Becky's Hell in a Cell match was probably the best women's Hell in a Cell match ever. All right, it probably is the best. It could be the best out of Sasha's three. Honestly, I love the Sasha and Bayley one the most. The only negative you could say about the Sasha and Bayley Hell in a Cell match was that there was no crowd. If there was a crowd, there wouldn't even be a debate on what was Sasha's best Hell in a Cell match. But it's because that the Becky match was great and it had a crowd. I can understand people saying that, Sasha. That's Sasha's best Hell in a Cell match. But with the match here, it was interesting because you're like, really, should Becky be losing a week before a title defense? Should Sasha be losing when she's, one of the two number one contenders? But I will say, man, this was spectacular. This was spectacular. Sasha cut a promo backstage earlier, and Sasha's promos have so much confidence these days, right? She doesn't sound scripted. She sounds so confident in what she's saying. It makes you really believe in what, the message she's trying to convey. But Sasha and Becky came out. Bianca was on commentary, right? One of the best parts about this was Bianca's commentary. You know, when Becky was on commentary for some of those matches, like Bianca and Charlotte a couple weeks ago on Raw, or Sasha and Bianca a couple weeks ago on SmackDown, Becky came off as super fucking annoying to the point where you just didn't want to listen to her. It was just like, please just shut the hell up. That's the way it came off. Shut up. She was taken away from the match with her cringe commentary and trying to come off as a heel. She was trying to force herself as a heel, right? Bianca, she came out, she made her points, talked about, what she wants, what she plans to do to Charlotte, what she plans to do at Crown Jewel, right? She gave good analysis, good commentary, and it didn't take away from the match. It actually added to the match, right? It didn't feel like a burden listening to Bianca on commentary, which I'm glad to see she can do that properly, because that's part of being a star. Becky can't do it correctly, but Bianca can. So props to Bianca. But this match was fantastic. Plus, the fact that it was commercial free added to it. It would have still been a great match, even if there was a commercial break in there. But the fact that it was commercial free made it feel like a pay-per-view match. There was no breaks. They went nearly 20 minutes on TV with no breaks. And this match was fast paced. Sasha and Becky know each other so well. They were countering each other's moves, right? Frog splash, Beck Exploder, disarmer, bank statement. There was lots of really good spots. Sasha doing a double knees into the ring post, right? Failing the first time, but then nailing it the second time, right? I remember when Sasha hit her leg on the LED board, you could hear the sound, and then Bianca was on camera like, ooh. Like damn, yeah. The way Sasha sells too, it almost makes you feel like she was injured, but she wasn't. There was a great spot where Sasha and Becky are fighting at the next to the announce table, right? Becky goes to punch Sasha, but Sasha dodges, and Becky takes out Bianca instead, which would come back to bite her later. Then Sasha goes on the announce table and hits like a one-legged knee drop in the Becky into the barricade, which was one of the best spots of the match. Like wicked good spot. Then later on, I believe Sasha hit a backstabber. Went for a bake statement, but Becky was able to get away. But then Bianca coming back, right, getting payback on Becky for the cheap shot from earlier, right? Because Becky didn't apologize for it. Becky was like, "Well, you were in the way. That's what you get." Bianca comes back and she tries to whoop Becky with her hair, but Becky was able to dodge it at the last moment. But that allowed Sasha to recover, hit the big state, or not the big state, hit the backstabber, and then get the clean 1, 2, 3. So Sasha beats Becky. And the thing that was also crazy is if you watch the match, probably at the beginning of the match, it looks like both Sasha and Becky are heels, but because they're both so loved and popular, it doesn't really matter in this case, right? You're just going to vote for whoever you like. It doesn't matter who's the heel, who's the face. But as the match went on, right, the crowd more backed Sasha because Becky was pulling her heel antics, trying to put her foot on the ropes and doing other underhand tactics. Sasha was actually panning to the crowd, right? She was getting the crowd involved, getting them hyped up, right? So it looks like Sasha was being turned babyface middle of this match. You can see the babyface turn being made, and then technically Bianca indirectly helping Sasha win the match. It's like they're telling you, all right, Sasha's more a babyface right now than a heel. So Sasha may not be fully babyface yet, but I would not be surprised in the next week, with Raw, with Crown Jewel, and then after SmackDown, especially if Sasha and Charlotte are feuding after Crown Jewel. I would not be surprised at all if Sasha is a full-fledged babyface because you don't have any top babyfaces on SmackDown in the women's division. It's Sasha, and then the next one is probably Naomi, who hasn't been built up correctly, right? You have tons of heels, though, for Sasha to work with. You have Charlotte, of course. You have Shayna Baszler, which would be a great feud. You have Sonya Deville, who is slowly, looks like she's getting back into ring shape, which I would love to see Sonya Deville back in the women's division, right? And you have some other names. I forget who else is in that division, but you have names there for Sasha to work with, right? And you never know. If Bailey comes back, you can always have Bailey in the mix as well. But uh but anyway, like I was saying, Sasha and Becky put on a great match. Sasha turning babyface and putting the crowd on her side just shows how good she is. For her to be able to be heel at the beginning of the match, but be a full blood babyface at the end, shows how good she is at telling a story, right? And all in all, this was great. It was great. And people were tweeting on social media because, like I said, this was going on during AEW Rampage, right? People were tweeting how they had like dual monitors up and they were watching both Sasha and Becky and CM Punk versus Matt Sydal at the same time, and they were loving it. They were loving it, you know. So it's great to see. That's what we want with professional wrestling. We don't want AEW and WWE going to war with one another. We want both to succeed because all we want is good professional wrestling at the end of the day. We're not here for a war. We're just here because we love wrestling. And it was great to see SmackDown put on a really good show. And Sasha and Becky, in my opinion, is a large reason for that. Large reason for that. All in all, man, it's going to be a crazy week in general, and the women's division is going to probably look a lot different. I think it's likely that Bianca and Sasha will be the new title holders by the end of the week, but still, we don't know. We don't know, but, you know, I don't agree with what they're doing with the Bianca versus Shawn match, but, we'll just have to wait and see. But, I'm just telling you guys right now, if that's the route they're going down, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with doing that with the Raw Women's Championship. The SmackDown Women's Championship, it's fine. It makes sense. But the Raw Women's Championship situation, that doesn't make sense at all. So we'll talk about we may talk about Sasha and Becky a little bit more, but I really wanted to talk about that because that was the biggest thing to me, at least, coming out of this show, especially with that big announcement. But let's get into the rest of the show. So first off, the show started off with Edge. Edge came out to cut a promo on Seth Rollins, and I'm gonna play parts of both promos for you guys. Just give me a sec to pull it up. But Edge and Seth Rollins, I feel like a lot of you guys would agree with me. Edge and Seth Rollins has been arguably the best feud of the year on WWE TV. These two have been going at it now since the beginning of the summer, way back into around July when Cena came back around Money in the Bank. So these two have been going at it now for the last 3 months. And I thought personally this feud would end after SummerSlam when Edge got his win, but they decided to continue it, and it's gotten better. It's gotten better. They had the epic Madison Square Garden match about a month back where Seth got his win back. And then now we're getting the finale here with this Hell in a Cell match. And thing is, I said this on the last review, this actually makes sense. It makes sense, for this feud to end in Hell in a Cell. It's a blood feud with everything these two have done to each other. Seth trying to take Edge out with the stomp, going after his injured neck, Seth going into his Edge's house, his sanctuary, right? It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense for this to end in Hell in a Cell. They don't have to do it on a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. They're actually doing it, they're doing it in Saudi Arabia at Crown Jewel, but it makes sense for this feud to end inside Hell in a Cell. I also know part of it is because even though the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view already happened back in June, Halloween is October. So, I guess WWE wanted to still have one Hell in a Cell match in October, to go with the whole Halloween vibe. And this feud should end inside Hell in a Cell. It should end inside Hell in a Cell. That's the key. You don't need a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view to do this match. You don't need the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view in general. The fact that this feud's going to end inside Hell in a Cell, right, at a non-Hell in a Cell pay-per-view is huge to me. It's huge to me because this is what Hell in a Cell is supposed to be. The end feuds like this. Not because of a stupid gimmick pay-per-view, all right, where we get Hell in a Cell matches like Xavier Woods versus Bobby Lashley, which makes no sense. So let me see. I'm gonna play Edge's
is a stepping stone to notoriety. This all started between us 7 years ago, when you tried to use me as a stepping stone to notoriety.
I love what Edge does here because Edge tells a story here, right? Edge recaps this feud in like 2 minutes, right? For people, of course, that may not who have been following along or may have stopped watching or something like that, or just to get people back up to speed who may have forgotten, how far this goes. Because this feud didn't just start this year. This feud kind of started 7 years ago. I love how Edge is like, you tried to use me as a stepping stone to notoriety back when Seth wasn't the top guy in WWE. He was in the Authority. Back then he was known as the Future, right? Now today he's one of the cornerstones of WWE. He's one of the biggest stars, right? So back then, when Seth attacked Edge, right? Seth was a young rookie or not really a rookie, but he was still technically like a young buck at the time, right? Trying to use Edge to further his career, make a name for himself. And now here he is all these years later, and now the story is continuing.
Bring forward 7 years, and we find ourselves in each other's way with a need to become Universal Champion, which you cost from happening. But this has become so much more than that, hasn't it? I mean, all those weeks after you beat me in Madison Square Garden, you called me out and you called me out and you called me out, but you knew I wasn't medically cleared to compete. It's okay, it's okay. Beating me wasn't enough. You got greedy. But you called my bluff, so I come here to Smackdown. And what do? You go to my home. Not my house. My home, and that's a big difference because a house is just four walls. You went to my home where I break bread with my family, where we laugh, where we cry, where I put band-aids on skin knees, where I tuck my little girls into bed every night.
Well, the thing is, look at the passion. You could see the veins in Edge's face. His face is turning red. It's passionate. He truly believes what he's saying here. And I love how he said, you didn't come to my house, you came to my home, my sanctuary, where we break bed, where we laugh, we cry, where, I live my life with my wife and my kids. You can see how angry he is that Seth invaded the sanctuary of his home, his privacy, right? Where he's supposed to get away from the craziness of the world and just be there with his family, making memories. I love how you can see the passion on Edge's face. That's what we're talking about. That's the storytelling that we need, right? Edge absolutely just being livid and angry at Seth here. I love it. I love it. A house is just four walls. A home is where I live my life. I love what Edge is saying here, man. Love it.
And you pissed all over it. And I should have seen it coming. I mean, it's straight out of my playbook. I remember years ago when I slapped Cena's dad? Yeah.
See, and then the crowd pops to that because everyone remembers that. Everyone back, what was it, 2006, I believe, when Edge and Cena had their famous feud? So I love how Edge is bringing past history. He said, that's straight out of my playbook. That's something I did back in the day. You took one of my tricks and did it even better. So Edge is like, I should have seen that coming because we're so alike. So I love it. Edge and Seth Rollins, there's so many similarities between these two, but they're also very different at the same time. I love what Edge is saying here.
And here's the thing with you and I. I underestimated you. I did. I underestimated you. And I shouldn't have done that because that would be like underestimating myself, and I never do that. See, you and I are so much alike that when we see our mistakes, we're able to capitalize on them. So at SummerSlam, you underestimated me, and I beat you decisively.
Mm-hmm.
In Madison Square Garden, I underestimated you, and you beat me. You stretchered me out of the world's most famous arena.
And then you have
And
Seth Rollins backstage listening to the promo. And Edge is doing a great job. Once again, he's doing a fantastic job of recapping this feud.
You're the only guy that within this ring comes close to matching my intensity.
And yeah, I would. Well, Edge, I understand he's saying for the promo, but I think probably AJ Styles would also be on that list. AJ Styles, I think AJ Styles may be the best wrestler in all of WWE. I was gonna say Daniel Bryan, but I had to remind myself he's in AEW now. But just wanted to make a quick pause there.
Comes close to matching my passion. Some might say my obsession for this. Close, but not quite. Not yet. Now, are you Edge light? No. No, you're not, man. I can admit that. I was wrong. You are decidedly your own man. You are Seth freaking Rollins. But because of that, I gotta end this. Because if I don't, our families continue to be affected by this. Now, I could go to your house. I could have a chance encounter with Bex.
This is, oh my God, Edge is so good with these promos, man. I honestly think, I don't know if there's anybody in the company, right? I don't know anybody in the company. Edge, and when Cena was there about a couple months back on the road to SummerSlam, I don't know if there's anybody in that company. There's a couple great talkers. Seth's up there, right? Roman has gotten more confident, over the years. Drew McIntyre is pretty good on the mic. But I don't think there's anybody, man, in that company that compares to Edge and Cena on the mic. Seriously. I only brought up Cena because he was there recently, even though I know Cena's filming movies and Peacemaker and all that. But, still, Edge with these promos, and Edge saying, man, I could go to your house. I could maybe run into Becky, even though Becky technically is backstage right there, right? Becky's there, but I love how Edge is like, I could just, you stole something out of my playbook. I could just redo it and do it better. I could go to your house, run into Becky and your little daughter, your young daughter that you had earlier this year. So, man, Edge is bringing the absolute fire. The thing that I'm worried about is that both Edge and Seth got drafted to Raw, right? Even though I thought Edge was going to be a free agent. But Edge and Seth are both on Raw. Yeah, I hate the temptation. I just feel like I don't trust WWE enough for them to not end this feud at Hell in a Cell. I could see this continuing on Raw some way, some form, because that's the way WWE is.
I mean, heaven knows we have some history. But I'm not going to do that. You see, I am going to channel it. I am going to change the look in your eyes from this point forward. I am going to leave you a husk of the man that everyone sees now. See, Seth, a few weeks ago, you said that you felt sorry for me, and that would be a mistake. Because you never feel sympathy for a devil, and that's what we are. And I damn sure won't hesitate before I put you down under my boot. I had my moment of doubt and pain. It's done. I will not hesitate. I will not have a second thought about it.
Jeez, that line, you never have sympathy for a devil. Woo!
That our story ends in Hell in a Cell.
His face goes mad.
So Seth,
similar to how Seth's face would go mad.
I want you to lean in real close. I want you to listen closely, because what I am about to say is a blueprint for your future. In Hell in a Cell, I am going to scar your soul.
I am going to scar your soul. Whew. Edge in this promo alone giving you 3 or 4 beautiful quotes. Beautiful quotes. You don't have sympathy for a devil. I'm going to scar your soul. Oh my gosh,
And
what a
that is a
promo.
scar that you never, ever heal from.
So make sure to follow.
Edge, this, oh my gosh, and Edge sounds so crazy here, like a madman, similar to how he did on the road to WrestleMania with the triple threat with Roman and Bryan. You know, Edge does everything and goes beyond. You know, Edge has easily been the best talker in WWE this year. You know, no matter if it's in his on the mic with Daniel Bryan, on the mic with Roman Reigns, on the mic with Seth Rollins, Edge has cut promo after promo after promo all year. And man, oh man, oh my gosh, this is just another one to add to the collection. What else? What else should I say about it? Really, it did a beautiful job recapping the story of this feud, and an Edge that's saying, "I'm gonna scar your soul, and it's gonna be a scar you never heal from." At Hell in a Cell. What else do you need to say? Really? Like he could have just said that in a backstage interview and then be done with it. You know what I mean? Like, golly. But all the credit to Edge to cutting a beautiful, beautiful promo, right? But we're gonna play Seth's response here.
We are going on a family vacation. Everybody is so excited for this. If you don't know about verbal, it's basically
Let's set the record straight.
First off, you guys know I do this almost every single week. You know, Seth's outfit, this might be the most unique one yet. He had on a black, white, and red, kind of like Valentine's Day colors in a way. Black, white, and red. Half the suits like soccer balls, something like that. Or no, is there soccer balls or rose petals? I can't really tell. And then the other side is just like chess or checkers or whatever you want to call it. You know, it's mismatching, but hey man, I gotta give Seth credit. That is unique as hell. Red, you guys didn't know red's my favorite color, so I gotta give Seth credit, man. Here, you know, it's weird, you know, it's not, but I gotta give him credit. That looks fire.
am in no way intimidated or afraid to face Edge inside Hell in a Cell. And you know why? Oh, I'm gonna tell you, of course, because hell has already frozen over right here tonight in California. No. The man himself, Edge, finally said it. He finally uttered the words, and I quote, he said, you were all here, he was wrong, and that I am not Edge Light.
And that's big for Seth. You think about it, you know, this is kind of, there's been lots of layers. There's lots of layers to the story. The Universal Championship, Roman Reigns, right? The past where Seth could have ended Edge's career back in 2014. You know, Seth going to Edge's house, right? And then Edge calling Seth Edge Light, which made Seth furious because Seth is like, I'm not any light. I'm Seth freaking Rollins. I'm me. I'm my own person. So, you know, for Edge to admit that, you know, Seth's his own person and that, you know, Seth isn't Edge Light, that's big to Seth. Remember, Seth has been saying for weeks, he wants Edge to admit that he is not Edge Light, right? He also wants Edge to admit that he's better than him at every single way. Even though Edge has not done that, and probably never will do that, regardless of what happens at Hell in a Cell. Just the fact that Edge said that alone is big to Seth. You know, it's huge to him.
You see, he's finally coming around to what we have all known all along, and that is that I am better than Edge in every single possible way. No, I'm in his head, guys. I'm in his head. Think about it. I have out-manipulated the master of mind games. And if that's not a mental advantage, then I don't know what is. So I'm going in with a mental advantage, and look, hey, I'm going in with a physical advantage after what happened to Edge at Madison Square Garden, the stomp, being stretchered out, spending the night in the hospital. There's no way he can be 100%. There's no way. There's no way. So mentally, I've got the edge. Physically, I've got the edge. And so what does Edge do? He's got an ace up his sleeve. Hell.
And people, you can hear the fans chanting Harley Quinn because that's what they're comparing his outfit to. And it does have a lot of Harley Quinn inspiration, But we gotta give Seth credit, man. The outfit's pretty fire.
In a cell. Now I'm going to say this one more time, and I'm going to say it very slowly for all of you in the back so that you can understand me. I am in no way intimidated or afraid to face Edge inside Hell in a Cell.
And the thing is, you notice this a lot with Seth's promos, right? Seth, he starts off, more calm, but then as the promo goes on, he gets more frustrated, no matter if it's the crowd or it's whoever he's doing a promo with. He gets frustrated, he gets emotional, he gets angry, and then that's when the real meat of this promo comes in.
His Edge is right about a couple of things.
You can see the anger on his face bubbling up.
Edge is right about a couple of things. We are two devils. We are cut from the same cloth. We are a lot alike, but there is one major difference between the two of us. I have spent more time in that cell than Edge has.
This is meat right here. This is the gold.
I know what that structure does to people. I know what it's done to me.
And he has that same crazed look in his eye. He has that same crazed look in his face. Same crazed look in his eyes that Edge had earlier.
Look at me! Look at me! I am the man I am today because of Hell in a Cell. And you're right, Edge. This fairy tale does end as Crown Jewel, but just not the way you think. And I know this because I am the visionary. I am the revolutionary. I am Seth freaking Rollins.
So basically, the big thing here, and I went to search this up actually, is if you look at Seth's history, he's been in 3 or 4 Hell in a Cell matches. He faced Dean Ambrose there in 2014. They faced off at 2014 at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. They faced Seth faced Kevin Owens in Hell in a Cell in 2016. Right, I remember that because that was the night I was at the Garden. That was the night when Charlotte beat Sasha in the Hell in a Cell match. Painful memories, if you ask me. But anyway. Yeah. So Kevin Owens faced Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship inside Hell in a Cell, right? Seth had just turned babyface at the time. And then we all remember this one from 2 years ago, Seth versus The Fiend. And the thing is, even though The Fiend, of course, we know Bray Wyatt, he's no longer with WWE, but we all know that's the one that turned Seth heel. Remember, Seth was supposed to be the #1 babyface in the company at that time. And we all know how WWE rushed the Fiend's push. And then, we had that horrific, arguably the worst Hell in a Cell match in the history of this company at that pay-per-view. We all know how bad that match ended. We all know it. And we know that WWE had to make up for it when they forced the Fiend to beat Seth at, I think it was Crown Jewel that same year. Like 2 weeks later, they did a rematch. And the Fiend defeated Seth Rollins to become Universal Champion, right? And then like the week after that, Seth slowly started turning heel, and then that's when the Messiah gimmick came into play, and then it led to the visionary Seth Rollins, So Seth saying he's been scarred from the cell, it's made him who he is. It's actually true because we all remember how the Fiend match at Hell in a Cell turned Seth and changed him, and turned him heel. So what Seth's saying here makes a lot of sense because it's actually true. He's already been scarred by the cell. So Seth believes there's nothing that Edge could do that can scar him any worse. So if anything, that's giving Seth more confidence going into that match that, he can defeat Edge, right? And both Seth and Edge cut really good promos here. You could see the madness on their face, them going mad about all of this. It was really, really, really good stuff all around from both of these two. And, this I love it. This has been one of the best feuds. It could argue be rivalry of the year. When we go back in about 2 months and we look back at this year, this is probably going to be rivalry of the year, for a lot of people, and it deserves that. And, I think these two are going to go in and have a fantastic Hell in a Cell match, right? Some people think they can have one of the best Hell in a Cell matches of all time. I'm not going to put that type of pressure, but I know these two are going to deliver. Hopefully they get a lot of time and they get to be able to tell the full story there. I'm expecting some crazy spots from these two. Crazy spots. So, we're really hyped for this match, and they did a great job with promoting this with their promos on SmackDown. Next up, we had the King of the Ring semifinal, Finn Balor versus Sami Zayn, right? This was a good match. This was a good match. I don't have too much to say about it. Remember, when Finn Balor came back to SmackDown, what was it? A couple months ago, right? Right before he feuded with Roman Reigns. This was his first match, so we've seen this match before. I thought it would be interesting to see if Sami Zayn could win, because I think Sami Zayn as King of the Ring would be absolutely hilarious and would be pretty funny, but we know that Finn Balor is getting a huge push right now. They want Balor to be one of the top baby faces on Monday Night Raw once, the draft becomes effective here this coming week. So Balor beating Zayn was not surprised at all. That he was the favorite going in. And I as much as I wanted to see Sami Zayn win King of the Ring, I just knew it was unlikely. I knew it was unlikely, especially with Finn Balor's push right now, right? So Balor, this was good. Balor fought back here when we came back from commercial break. He scored a near fall off a midair shotgun dropkick. Then Zayn hit the Blue Thunder Bomb. You guys know how much I love that move. I say this all the time. I would love to see Sami Zayn win a match with that move once in a while, bro. It should be a finishing move. Shouldn't be a signature. It should be a finishing move. But Balor, Balor kicked out. He got fired up, and then, he did his normal stuff, hit the coup de grace in what was a pretty good match here. So Balor defeated Sami Zayn to move on to the King of the Ring finals. And they're going to be doing King of the Ring and Queen's Cup finals at Crown Jewel. I know that on Raw, we're going to be getting Xavier Woods versus Jinder Mahal, and that, whoever wins that will face Balor at Crown Jewel. I think 99% of people would say Woods is going to beat Jinder Mahal, right? WWE missed out on a golden opportunity last week by not having Kofi Kingston beat Jinder Mahal. A story, a potential match with Kingston and Woods in the King of the Ring would be absolutely amazing. I feel like a lot of people would have wanted to see that, and I'm disappointed that WWE, didn't take advantage of that opportunity. You could, you don't have to break the New Day up or anything, but seeing Kingston and Woods go at it, with King of the Ring on the line, like the story, just seeing those two go at it, man, would have been great. Would have been great. So I'm sad that we didn't get that, but it is what it is at this point. But I think we all expect Woods to beat Jinder Mahal, and then a lot of people want Woods to win King of the Ring, but it's hard to bet against Balor. Like Woods, I think Woods would be the more entertaining king, but with Balor's push right now, I just don't know if they would have Woods beat Balor, but you never know. You never know. But we'll see what happens, But it's hard. It's really, really hard to bet against Balor, no matter who he faces. If he faces Jinder, right, then first of all, King of the Ring is a joke. If the finals ended up having Jinder fucking Mahal in them, but I feel like 100% of people would pick Balor to defeat Jinder Mahal. With Xavier Woods, it's a little bit more difficult. It's more like 60-40, but I think Balor's the favorite to win no matter who he faces. But we'll see what happens on Raw with Woods and Mahal, and we'll see what happens with the King of the Ring finals this week at Crown Jewel. Next up. So you guys know I have a strong belief in, side feuds, right? Secondary feuds. It's not always about the world title feuds. It's, like we know that's the main part of a show, but you need those secondary feuds to, help determine the rankings, help characters grow and become better, and things of that nature. And I've really enjoyed the Naomi and Sonya Deville feud up to this point. For the first couple of weeks, it was more Sonya refusing to let Naomi compete on television, because I guess she just doesn't like Naomi, even though we know Naomi has the credentials and deserves to be in that ring. But Sonya being in power, she doesn't believe that at all. She thinks Naomi's not that good. She thinks Naomi's a failure and has done everything to keep Naomi from getting into the ring. So finally, Sonya agreed to have a match with Naomi this week on Smackdown. But of course, it was never that simple. I was excited for this because you guys know I like Naomi. I want to see her succeed. I've talked about how there are multiple things that you can do with her on SmackDown. There's lots of things you can do with her. Putting her in the bloodline or having her feud for the SmackDown Women's title. There's lots of things you can do with her. And she deserves to be used in that women's division. You guys also know I like Sonya Deville. I thought Sonya Deville I still think Sonya has a lot of potential and that she can be a future women's champion. I think she's highly underrated in the ring, and she's really good with her character. So, I wasn't surprised with the path that they'd taken with this Naomi and Sonya, thing, right? Clearly, Naomi's the babyface who just wants to get on and compete and feels like she's not, that management is, holding her back. And Sonya's the power figure that will do anything to, embarrass Naomi at any second. We saw this a lot with the Authority back in the day, right? So, Naomi comes out, Sonya came out, and it looks like Sonya has some new music. But Sonya wasn't wearing ring gear. She was wearing a suit, her normal suit. And then she announced that that Naomi would be facing her, but that she would be facing Sonya and Shayna Baszler in a 2-on-1 handicap match. I can understand Sonya being here a little bit because Shayna is a heel. Plus, Shayna is going to be on SmackDown going forward, right? But it was like 50-50 here. I didn't mind it, but I know some people are like, did Sonya really have to, or not Sonya, did Shayna really have to be in this segment? Like Shayna, a lot of people are like, Shayna should have been there at all. But the thing about it is, this was simple and to the point, right? Naomi, as the babyface, she did her best to fight off both Sonya and Shayna. Shayna did a lot of the dirty work, but, Sonya did get some punches and kicks in here and there. For the most part, Sonya was just, ordering Shayna to, beat down Naomi for her, right? And then Shayna hit Naomi in the gut with a couple punches, and, that was it. Shayna choked out Shayna choked out Naomi with the carry through the clutch, and then Deville took the pin for herself. So clearly, this is going to be a story of what's the word? I'm forgetting the word, but you guys, Naomi's basically gonna have to find a way to stick up to management, right? Because Adam Pearce isn't doing anything to help Naomi here, so Naomi's gonna have to find a way to stick up for herself. She's fighting a losing battle right now, but she's gonna have to find a way to even the odds. You never know, right? Like I said, there's not really a strong presence of baby faces in the SmackDown Women's division after the draft. There's a lot of heels in that division. If Sasha turns babyface, you can always have maybe Sasha help Naomi here. Maybe. Like I said, I would love to see Naomi, Shayna, and Sonya. I think all three of those women should be involved in the SmackDown Women's title picture, right? There's potential to have a really strong women's division on SmackDown. It's just WWE has to put in the work and build these women up and actually, make them look like prominent contenders. But I just don't know if WWE's going to do that. I don't know. But, here, it's going to be interesting. Naomi's going to have to find some way to even the odds. Maybe Asuka. Remember, Asuka's injured right now, but maybe Asuka comes back and she's put on SmackDown. You guys know I did say Asuka should switch brands. Asuka, would be a perfect fit for that SmackDown Women's division, right? So maybe Asuka comes back and she helps Naomi. Maybe it's Sasha Banks. Maybe it's somebody else. But clearly, for Naomi to, get payback and, prove to Sonya that I deserve a bigger role. And maybe the story is meant for, to bring Sonya back as a competitor. Because remember, Sonya's not meant to be an authority figure for the rest of her career. I want to see Sonya in the ring. I think Sonya has potential to potentially be SmackDown Women's Champion one day, right? Maybe this story goes down the path for eventually Naomi is tired of being bullied by Sonya, right? And then she finds some way to even the odds. And then, eventually it comes down to where maybe Naomi and Sonya have some kind of match. And then if Naomi beats Sonya, Sonya loses her authority role. And then she just goes back to being a competitor. Maybe that's the route we're going with, right? I could definitely see that. I think that would be a good direction for this story because I want to see Sonya back as a competitor. Like, Sonya's fine as an authority figure, but I think Sonya has way more to offer as a competitor. So I could definitely see this potentially going the route where eventually down the line, Naomi faces Sonya, and then, Sonya loses her authority role and then goes back into being a full-time competitor. We'll see. But so far, man, I like this. It's a simple story right now, but, at least we're getting Naomi on television every single week. She deserves to be on television. And hopefully, this helps both Naomi and Sonya in the long run. We'll see if Shayna stays in this feud. I wouldn't be surprised if we get like Naomi versus Shayna on SmackDown next week. I would not be surprised since both were drafted to the Blue brand. But we'll see where this goes. But so far, it's a simple story, but I like it. And we'll see where WWE takes this in the coming weeks. We had our Queen's Crown semifinal match. We had Zelina Vega versus Carmella. You guys know my thoughts on the Queen's Crown tournament. It has been booked horrendously. The pacing of the matches, the actual booking of who's been, the fact that Toni Storm and Liv Morgan were both eliminated in the first round when arguably both of those two should have been strong candidates to win this tournament. The King of the Ring on the men's side has been okay, but on the women's side, it's just been horrific. It's been horrific, and honestly, it's almost been a waste of a tournament. All right, and I will. So we had Carmella and Zelina Vega here, right? And remember, both are heels. So first off, who the fuck are you supposed to cheer for, right? Like, both of them are heels on SmackDown. So you're saying they're like, wow, like who am I supposed to root for? Right? And both really haven't been pushed that much in recent months. So it's like, first of all, you give us the semifinal match for this big tournament that's supposed to mean something, but we don't even know who we're supposed to root for. You're giving us two heels. It honestly should have been Liv Morgan versus Toni Storm in this round instead of Carmella and Zelina Vega. But, what do I know, right? So, backstage, Zelina and Carmella made nice, saying, Carmella said she wasn't gonna wear her special mask, right? Because remember, Carmella and Zelina have been friendly with each other, so you have two heels saying to each other, oh, let's just play nice. When both these two are supposed to be heels, they should be looking for every advantage in the book to win. Just because they're friendly with one another doesn't mean they should just, ignore their heelish nature. That's the whole point of them being freaking heels. So, anyway, we get the match. I'll say this: did Carmella get I don't know? Did Carmella get a breast job? I don't know if you guys are noticing this, but I don't know. I don't I was just looking. I was like Carmella's chest. It looks a lot larger these days. I don't know, but I don't know if Carmella had a job done or anything like that. It was just something that I did notice. I was like, wow, But anyway, so we got the match, and it was okay. It wasn't anything special. The match was way too short. Once again, it also that angers me because you had a 2.5 hour SmackDown tonight, right? Sasha and Becky didn't start till 10 o'clock. So did the Universal Championship segment. You had those two segments take place in 30 minutes of commercial free television. You had more than enough time to give Zelina and Carmella a decent, a decent, time to tell their story. But instead, this was way too short. Once again, the women's division not being treated fairly. Finn Balor and Sami Zayn got a fair amount of time. Why couldn't Zelina and Carmella? Sure, it didn't make sense for both of these two to make it this far in the tournament, but at least give them time to give us a decent match at anything, at the bare minimum. Even with the bad booking, you should at least let these two give us a decent match, because I think these two could give you a decent match. I think Zelina Vega is underrated, and you guys know Carmella is underrated. So it was disappointing. These two went out there and did their best, but it was disappointing that WWE still, with a 2.5 hour show, didn't give enough time to Zelina and Carmella here. Very disappointing, bro. And it's just the staple of what's been a very poorly booked Queen's Crown tournament. So anyway, there was a point where Carmella accidentally hit Zelina, and then she got a bunch of her red lipstick on her teeth, right? So that angered Zelina. Carmella tried apologizing, but then Zelina went ham on Carmella. Carmella exited the ring to go get her mask, of course, because her stupid most beautiful in WWE, the most beautiful woman in WWE gimmick. But then when she went for a mask, Liv Morgan, was holding the mask, taunting her rivals. And we know that both Carmella and Liv got drafted to Raw, so those two will continue feuding on Raw, even though I still have no idea what those two are feuding over. But I digress. Carmella, didn't try to get the mask back. She went into the ring, right? She went back into the ring. Zelina Vega took advantage of the distraction and then scored a roll-up victory. So now Zelina will go on to face the winner of Doudrop and Shayna Baszler this week on Raw in the Queen's Crown Finals. So Zelina Vega finally winning some matches. Remember, we always complained ever since Zelina came back that she hadn't won a match all year. I think Zelina is now on a 3 or 4 match win streak. So I don't know. I could definitely see Zelina Vega as Queen of the Ring, right? But we'll see. It's all going to depend on what happens with Doudrop and Shayna Baszler. Because I don't know. If Doudrop wins, I think Doudrop would probably defeat Zelina. There's no scenario where I could see Zelina Vega defeating Doudrop. I can't really think of one, right? And Shayna Baszler, I could definitely see Shayna winning and defeating Doudrop, and in WWE just doing Shayna dirty by having Zelina roll Shayna up at Saudi Arabia. I could definitely see WWE doing something wacky like that. That's in WWE's playbook. We know how WWE is. What would happen? I don't know. But definitely I think Zelina uh Zelina, could defeat Shayna just because WWE's wacky like that, right? Dewdrop, that's less likely, but I don't know. Either way, I don't really care that much because it doesn't really matter to me who wins Queen's Crown, right? Because WWE's done a poor job of booking this tournament. They've done a horrendous job of booking this tournament. So it really doesn't matter at the end of the day who wins this tournament. It doesn't. But we'll see what happens, right? Like I said, WWE continues to poorly book the women's division, and this whole tournament has pretty much been it's been a joke, really, in my opinion. It's been a joke. But we'll see what happens Monday with Shayna and Dewdrop in the semifinals, and who faces what's is it? Zelina at Queen's Crown. Next up, we had a street fight for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships between the Usos and the Street Profits. This was a banger. This was fantastic. So this was great. And this is what I expected from these two teams, right? This feud's been going on now for, I would say, since after SummerSlam, right? A little since after SummerSlam, so a month and a half, close to 2 months. And I'll say this, the feud kind of started slow because the matches, it seems like those two were holding back and they weren't getting enough time. But, as the feud has continued, these two teams have absolutely just went ham on one another. And, the action has intensified. And these two teams have developed really good chemistry. And, it concluded with an epic street fight tonight. This was the perfect way to end the feud. Because, these Street Profits are going to Raw. I think a Street Profits versus RK Bro, that would be fantastic. I would love to see that. And then the Usos are probably going to end up feuding with the New Day, reigniting one of the best tag team feuds, right? One of the best tag team rivalries in recent memory. The Usos and the New Day, two of the greatest tag teams of all time, and they've had some of the best tag team matches of this generation. And we're gonna get more of that. I think we're all gonna love seeing those two fight over the SmackDown Tag Team Championships again. I think it's funny. I don't think we've ever seen them fight over the Raw Tag Team titles, but either way. Anyway, excuse me. Either way, man, this match was great. All right, they went after it. They went after each other from the beginning of the bell. Basically, there was a really cool moment where the Usos took turns hitting home runs on Angelo Dawkins' back with kendo sticks, right? And but then out of nowhere, and you guys know I love seeing Montez Ford in the sky, man. The guy is so good when he's flying through the air. He's so athletic. He had about 3 or 4 really impressive moments from this match alone. Right, so he did a high crossbody that took out both the Usos, which sparked the babyface comeback. Then Dawkins obliterated Jay with a kendo stick, and Ford followed with a steel chair. Jimmy then saved his brother, then sending Dawkins into a steel post, and then he delivered. They did the stereo super kicks, right? Ford delivered a beautiful frog splash. It was different from his normal one. He shifted his body in midair so that he landed on Jimmy. So he legit did he shifted his body. So instead of landing this way, he landed this way. So he went so imagine this is like the top rope. He was so high in the air, man. He probably could have done a full rotation. He gets so high up, man. I want to know his leg day workouts. What does he do on leg day to get, hops like that? Absolutely insane. So he delivered the Frog Splash, which would have won the match, but then Jay saved the fall, and then he dragged Montez out of the ring and threw him through a table, right? And there was a moment in this match also earlier, I forgot to mention, when the Street Profits tried to honor the Dudley Boys. They were like, get the tables, and the crowd went wild, because you guys know how much WWE fans love table spots. But anyway, Dawkins tried to do a roll-up, but then he just landed into a double super kick from the Usos, and then they did their normal consecutive splashes from the opposite turnbuckles for the win. So I don't know. It's just I think this is like the third or fourth time that the Usos have defeated the Street Profits for those titles. So this is gonna end the feud clearly with both teams going their separate ways. But it was an epic way for this feud to end. An epic way for this feud to end. You know, like I said, at the beginning the matches were kind of slowly paced, but as the feud went on, it got better and better and better. This was great. This was great. And, like I said, if the Street Profits, they're going back to Raw. I would love to see them feud with RK Bro for the Raw Tag Team titles. And then with the Usos, man, they do have some new teams over there on SmackDown. But, of course, everyone's going to be excited to see the Usos and the New Day go at it again. And I don't see the Usos losing those tag team titles, especially if Roman's not losing the Universal title anytime soon. But great stuff here with the Usos and the Street Profits. A really, really entertaining street fight. So last but not least, right? I'm not talking about that segment with Happy Talk with Baron Corbin and Riddle Moss, right? It was this bad dad jokes, and Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs came out to jam out with Pat McAfee, which is always entertaining. But that was that. We'll see. We'll see, man. Shinsuke needs an opponent for the IC championship. He hasn't anybody really there to face him yet. So Shinsuke Nakamura, man, let's get this guy some opponents, some credible opponents for the Intercontinental title. You could build up Corbin or Moss to challenge Shinsuke. You do have a lot of new guys coming over to SmackDown in that mid-card division. You could do Jeff Hardy versus Nakamura, right? They feuded before over the United States title. So you could Nakamura versus Ricochet. All right, there are people for Nakamura to defend that title against. So hopefully now with the draft, results becoming effective in a couple days, we can actually get Nakamura facing some people for that title. He hasn't really had any rivalries since Apollo Crews, and Nakamura is way too good just to have him sing and dance every single week. Let's get Nakamura some actual credible competition for that IC title. We already talked about Sasha and Becky and how great that was, right? I did forget to mention, Sasha wore her Royal Rumble gear tonight, which looked amazing, amazing. I would love to see Sasha wear, her Spider-Man gear. I wish I was like, I wish Sasha wore her Spider-Man gear, the one from what was it? Was it Over the Limit or Elimination Chamber? It was either Fastlane or Elimination Chamber. But yeah, I would love to see her wear that Spider-Man gear with the black, the red, the blue. I would love to see her wear that sometime soon. But either way, we talked about how great Sasha and Becky was already. That was a fantastic match. And last but not least, the contract signing for the Universal title match between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. This was very short and to the point, but it was perfect. It was perfect. I'm gonna play the clip here for you guys really quick. So Lesnar came out with his ponytail and his beard, right? Lesnar, man, it's like Lesnar now. It's like he's having more fun in there, and it's gonna be interesting to see Lesnar wrestle with that ponytail on Thursday. But it seems like Lesnar's just having fun. He's not coming out wearing his normal sweats and his Suplex City shirts with his sneakers, right? And usually his clean shaven face with the low cut. It's like he's having fun right now, looking like I forget what's those people that I forget what those people are called. Those let's call him a farmer, right? It's like Lesnar's having fun, man, wearing his country farmer outfit, coming out with ripped flannel, right, jeans, and then the ponytail and the long beard. He rocks the hipster look way better than Aaron Rodgers, I'll say that. But it's like Lesnar's just having a lot of fun right now, and he's just enjoying every minute of it, right? So Lesnar comes out, Roman's already in the ring, right? Lesnar sits down, and Lesnar's like, "You sit down, Roman. What are you doing?" And Roman's like, "I'm not sitting down. I'm the head of the table, right? I make my own rules."
size 70 cowboy boots.
And then the
up
crowd
on
is
the
chanting
table.
Suplex City, and Roman, that angers Roman because Roman said, "This ain't Suplex City. This is the island of relevancy." So I love Roman game. And the thing is, I'll mention this quickly. I think you guys have heard about this. Roman Reigns, they're saying that Roman's doing merchandise sales on the level of John Cena when Cena was in his prime, right? Which is big, because now people are calling Roman the most beloved bad guy ever. But you also gotta be fair here. Roman has way more merch than any other superstar. You can get his merch in any color. You can get it in like gray, black, or white. Plus, he has like a new shirt every month. Bloodline shirt, show up and win, wreck everyone and leave, acknowledge me, pin 'em, stack 'em shirt. He has like a new shirt every month. So, in fairness, I understand Roman's popularity, and I love the Roman, I love this gimmick for Roman more than any past version of Roman. I love it. But the thing about it is, also, Roman gets way more merch than anybody else. You look at almost any of the other top guys, like AJ Styles or Orton, Cena, right? No, not Cena. Sasha, Becky. Well, Becky has a lot of merch too. But a lot of the top people, nobody has more merch than Roman. Like, no, they just released like a new Crown Jewel shirt for Roman. Like, he has more merch than anybody in that company. It's not even close. So yes, the fact that Roman's doing huge sales with his merchandise, that's great. I'm happy for him. And probably WWE's gonna see this, and then one day they're gonna turn him babyface, because if he's doing this well as a heel, right, he could probably sell just as much, if not more, as a babyface. But still, also what you gotta look at him, Roman gets more merch than everybody. It's not like everybody gets the same amounts of merch sold. When Roman gets a new shirt once a month, well, other superstars may only get maybe one shirt every 2-3 months. There is something that goes into it. And plus, WWE fans, they have a tendency to spend a lot of money on merch. I have a lot of WWE shirts that I've bought in over the years, but WWE fans, man, there's some people that are sweats that have thousands and thousands of shirts, because they'll buy every single shirt that WWE releases. A Roman Reigns super fan will buy every single shirt in every single color. So, on one side, yes, it's great what Roman's doing, but there are some factors that go into that you guys have to understand. But I did want to mention that pretty quick. But back to the contract signing. Let me see. As Paul Heyman's reviewing the contract, Brock is just standing there, just laughing. Let me skip through a second.
Everything that you requested, my counsel, sir, is to sign this contract for Crown Jewel.
And Roman's is standing there all serious, looking at Brock. But I forgot what I was going to say.
That's half of it done. Roman Reigns has made his end official to defend the championship this Thursday at Crown Jewel.
And Heyman just takes Roman's pens and throws
Heyman
it.
throws the pen out of the ring. And now it's time for Beast to make this thing official.
And Brock signs the contract without even looking at it.
He didn't even look at it. But he signed it. It's official.
I don't think he signed any line. He signed right over that thing.
You go tell him.
Yeah, Brock, yeah. Michael, like, you go tell him. Yeah, Brock didn't sign on the line. He just signed without looking at it,
No way. Line. He signed right.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I remember what I was going to say.
But he signed it. It's official.
I don't think he signed any line. He signed right over that thing.
You go tell him.
No way.
I find it interesting how Heyman's like, oh, it's everything you requested. And I went for a second when I heard, I was like, is there a stipulation that we don't know about? Like, I feel like the terms are pretty simple, right? Roman versus Brock, Universal Championship, normal title match rules. Simple. So that's what I was gonna say. I was like Heyman was like, it was everything you requested. I was like, what requests are there? You know, like, there's no special guest referee. Is there a stipulation? Like, no. So I did find that funny.
You must be some kind of a dumbass.
And Roman calling Brock a dumbass. Ugh. Yeah, I guess Roman's at that point. We know Roman. He's the head of the table. He don't care. He'll say whatever he wants to anybody. But, Brock Lesnar being called a dumbass, you got to be careful, man. Is that the person you really want to, enrage? Do you really want to get that guy angry?
A big dumb farmer, huh? You just sign it without even reading it? What's wrong with you, man?
And he calls Brock a big dumb farmer. And Brock just sits there laughing.
Roman, I already read the damn contract this morning with my advocate, Paul Heyman.
And there it is. Right there.
With my advocate, Paul Heyman.
And Brock calls, no, Roman, you're the dumbass. If you guys didn't hear that, because everyone was reacting, reacting to the Paul Heyman line. You almost missed that Brock called Roman a dumbass. And the funny thing is, Brock just gets up and just leaves the ring, and that's it. Just leaves the ring, and the look on Roman and Heyman's faces tell the whole story. And what's the thing about it is, Heyman didn't grab a mic and try to, defend himself. He didn't go and say, oh, what he's saying is not true. But, he just stood there in shock. So now, even though every week, Heyman keeps saying, oh, I'm loyal to you, my tribal chief, this and that, right? And then last week, Heyman's looking into the camera and telling Brock why he's not going to beat Roman at Crown Jewel, right? They're trying to make you believe that Heyman is truly loyal to Roman. But now, every time Brock is there, he says something. There's a fly in the room. He says something that makes you once again doubt that Heyman isn't fully on Roman's side. That Heyman's playing both sides of the same coin. He's secretly meeting with Lesnar in private. And if you're Roman, you have to sit there and you have to at least consider it. You don't know that. Like, why would Lesnar lie? So it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting here. Look, this was a very, very quick contract signing. It was I'm only 2 minutes in, really, and that's it. So now they're making you think, going to Crown Jewel, whose side is Heyman on? Because that's gonna have a role to play in this match on Thursday. Well, it'd be even more interesting if I wish Heyman was like the special guest referee. We know Heyman will be at ringside, but I feel like, having Heyman as the special guest referee would make this even more exciting. But it's going to be interesting. We don't know what's going to happen Thursday. Will Heyman turn on Roman and realign himself with Lesnar? Will Heyman turn on Lesnar and fully, submit his loyalty to Roman? We don't know. But this is very, very interesting going to Crown Jewel. We do know, I did read reports that the plan right now, WWE has no plans to take the title off of Roman, right? They have started mentioning on commentary how Roman's getting closer to Brock Lesnar's own record, because remember, Lesnar has the record for longest Universal title reign at 504 days. Roman's currently at, I believe, like 411, 412. So if he holds that title basically until about January, he would, surpass Lesnar and become the longest reigning Universal champion of all time. But we'll see. Lesnar could win on Sunday, but I think it's more likely than not that Roman will win. We do know that WWE wants to do a rematch with these two, and right now WWE is considering doing Roman and Brock at WrestleMania next year. If they can't get The Rock, which Like I said, I'm not gonna believe that The Rock and Roman's happening until Rock shows up, because they say this every year, and I know they want to do The Rock versus Roman, and I would love to see it, but until The Rock physically shows up and challenges Roman, then I don't believe the match is happening, because The Rock's busy with Hollywood right now. By the way, did you guys see The Rock in Face Off? Whoo! Best rapper on the planet, right? Jake, you got some competition. Just joking, but you guys get the point. But anyway, I don't expect Roman to lose on Thursday, but I wouldn't be surprised if Brock won. But I think Roman's gonna something wacky is gonna happen, and Roman's most likely gonna walk out still Universal Champion. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But very, very intrigued to see. The Paul Heyman element here is what makes it so interesting. It's not really the match itself. Like, we've seen Roman versus Brock 1,000 times. It's more the Paul Heyman element that makes this interesting. And we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. We'll see. Will Heyman cost Brock or Roman the win on Thursday? I think it's more likely than not that Roman walks out champion, but we'll see. We don't know. Nothing's set in stone. And this is very, very interesting, going into Crown Jewel on Thursday. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Who you guys got winning at Crown Jewel? Do you got Roman? Do you got Brock? Do you see Heyman interfering in any way? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But I'm very excited to see how it all goes down between these two at Crown Jewel. But other than that, guys, that's about it for SmackDown. I want to thank you guys so very much for joining me here on the podcast. Once again, man, this was a really good edition of SmackDown. A really good edition of SmackDown. Really, really enjoyable from top to bottom. Very, very little really that I could complain about. This was one of, if not the best SmackDown episodes of the year. And definitely going into Crown Jewel, they did a really good job. SmackDown is looking solid for Crown Jewel. Edge and Seth Rollins in Hell in a Cell, Sasha, Becky, and Bianca triple threat for the SmackDown Women's title, Roman versus Brock, so those three matches alone are going to really carry the Crown Jewel card. Of course, you have Drew versus Big E for the WWE title, which should be a banger, but SmackDown's definitely going to be carrying the load for Crown Jewel. But like I said, really good addition to SmackDown. Hopefully the 2.5 hour format doesn't stay. Hopefully we only get that maybe 2 to 3 times a year. It worked in this instance, but I wouldn't want WWE to be, relying on it going forward, just because they had one good episode of SmackDown. But like I said, still a good episode either way. But just let you guys know, like I said, it's going to be a busy week, so you guys are going to want to have notifications enabled. So subscribe if you guys are new to the channel by hitting the big red button right next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, and also clicking the bell so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. We're going to have the Monday Night Raw review on Monday, most likely with Crown Jewel preview and predictions also during that stream. So Monday or Tuesday, expect that. Thursday, we will have Crown Jewel. We'll have a review stream, during the afternoon, either Thursday afternoon or Thursday night, depending on my schedule. But be on the lookout for that. We might also do an AEW Dynamite review that same stream. Maybe. We'll see. But we're definitely gonna review Crown Jewel no matter what. But we'll see about AEW as well. And then of course we have Friday, we have SmackDown. The first SmackDown post Crown Jewel, post the WWE draft being effective. So we'll see what happens. We'll have new faces on the blue brand. And we'll see what happens. So it's going to be a big week of podcast content. It's going to be a big week here on the channel because I got WWE, I got Dragon Ball, I got tons of content coming out almost every day. So make sure you guys are subscribed and you have that notification bell enabled. Thank you guys for the love and support. As always, man, please leave a like on the video, comment with your thoughts. As always, I'm always looking at the comment section. And make sure you guys follow me down on social media. The links are in the description down below. I'll see you guys later, man. Stay safe and healthy, y'all. Peace.